There's a very important misconception out there regarding carbohydrates, okay? I want to clear this up because you'll see this in various articles and different books, and this is what they say. Carbs are the body's most important source of fuel, okay? They'll say that glucose is the most important source of energy in the body. Now, what does that mean, most important source of energy? Does that mean it's the healthiest source of energy? I guess the question is, I need clarification on what they mean by most important, okay? Because the more important question is this: what fuel source gives the body the most health? Sometimes they'll say that the brain is dependent on glucose as a major energy source. And then in the next sentence, they'll say ketones are an alternative source of energy, usually used when you're starving. And so they kind of put ketones in a negative light, like they're an alternative fuel source, or you only make ketones when you're starving. They won't usually mention fasting or intermittent fasting. Sounds pretty dangerous. They might also add in their ketoacidosis, a very rare condition for type 1 diabetics where you're not using insulin and your ketones are off the chart, to make it sound that ketones are very, very dangerous. Then you have the USDA guidelines, which recommend that 65% of all your calories should be carbohydrates. So then we know that if they recommend it, it must be true. And they also say that your body likes to eat carbs because they're the first line of energy. The body will always burn the carbs first before other energy sources like fat or ketones. So here's the question I have. If this is actually true, that our bodies were designed to live on glucose mainly as its very important fuel source, and other fuel sources are not natural, they're alternative, and they're used as a backup, why do we have such a massive problem with diabetes in the world? Diabetes is a situation where they have dysfunctional insulin, so they can't regulate glucose. So insulin is either dysfunctional or there's not enough insulin to take the glucose out of the blood because it's either not there or it's insufficient in some manner. So now we have this higher level of glucose in the blood. And both of these conditions occur when you have high levels of glucose or carbs in the diet. So if our bodies like carbohydrates, why is everyone becoming a diabetic? And why is it that so many health problems clear up when you switch fuel sources from carbohydrates or glucose to fat and ketones? I'm talking about a fatty liver. I'm talking about diabetes. I'm talking about insulin resistance. I'm talking about mood disorders, anxiety, depression, cognitive disorders, dementia, better focus, better concentration. I'm talking about other conditions related to your hormones, like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Why does someone's cholesterol do better when they switch fuel sources? Why does a person's triglycerides come down? Why does a person with bad heart problems actually get better when they get on a ketogenic diet? Now, if you take a look at what a normal blood sugar is, it should be right around 80, right? I mean, what does that mean, 80 milligrams per deciliter? That's basically one little teaspoon of sugar in all of your blood. Now, if our bodies were meant to consume 65% of the calories, carbohydrates, which is basically a cup and a half of sugar, how can a person's blood sugar show normal or 80 if they're consuming all this sugar? Well, because the insulin is coming in there and very rapidly taking the sugar out of the blood and putting it as storage to keep that normal blood sugars. And so when many people go to the doctor, their blood sugar is normal despite consuming a massive amount of sugar, simply because the doctors rarely test insulin levels. They're mainly focused on glucose levels. If they were to also test the insulin level, they would find a huge, massive spike in insulin. That's called hyperinsulinemia. And that condition, high levels of insulin, is brewing in the oven for probably 10 to 15 to 20 years before the person even gets a pre-diabetic situation or a diabetic situation. So I just want to do this video to show you this very important distinction on what fuel source the body really naturally was designed to run on. It's not glucose, it's ketones. If you're new to my channel, check out the link down below of exactly what you need to be eating. Hey, before you leave, I just wanted to give you a little quick history on some of the books that I wrote. This was one of the first books. It's called Dr. Berg Body Shapes. It was my attempt at writing about body types. What was very interesting about this book is I actually did all the images myself. Don't ask me why. They look actually not quite as professional as some of the images that I have in the new book. But anyway, this is my first attempt right here called Dr. Berg's Body Shape Diets. And then I wrote a book more extensive called The 7 Principles of Fat Burning. I don't even have a copy anymore, actually, because it's outdated. The next book, I put about 1,000 hours into this one right here called The New Body Type Guide. Major updates on the body types. I put a lot of energy into this. It has professional images, graphics, all sorts of things. Now, the problem with this book is it doesn't really describe what this is really about. Body types are only a small portion of what's in this book. And that's why I changed the name to the Healthy Keto Plan, okay? If you happen to have this book, you don't really need this book because there's only very, very minor updates. But if you don't have this, you need to get this one right here. This book goes into every single detail that you would ever want to know about. It goes into the 7 principles of fat burning. It goes into hormones, the body types, the basic keto plan. It goes into intermittent fasting. I talk about the 10 fat-burning triggers and blockers and fat-burning strategies with a lot of details in every single chapter. I go into body issues that interfere with losing weight. There's very few people that just have a weight problem. They have a lot of body issues, whether it's sleeping problems, stress problems, inflammation, menopause. I cover that extensively in this book. Then I talk about how to get rid of stress, and I show you a technique. Then I get into exercising. And then I have a lot of really good recipes in this book as well. So this is a good reference guide. On my website, if you get this book, you get this one free. It's called Healthy Keto Intermittent Fasting. This is the shortcut, quick guide to this book. And the reason I created this book is to have you, within 45 minutes, learn how to do keto, okay, in intermittent fasting, exactly what you need to do. Then you can fill in the blanks with this book right here. So right now I'm doing a special. If you get this book, you get this one totally free, or you can go to Amazon and get these individually. So I just want to clarify the difference between this book and this updated one right here. If you don't have this, you need to get this right here. That way you can get the exact correct information to do it healthily.